Good morning, dudes and dudettes. Good afternoon, good evening. I forget it's 24/7 here on the social webs, but it's morning when we're doing this here. Very, very special guest here this morning. He's been a part of a national championship. He's from the coal country of eastern northern Kentucky, just below the West Virginia border. Down there again in coal country at a very prestigious program with a lot of stability over the years. And again, they got rings to show for it. He is into his second year, but his 13th total with the program. Head coach, Tigh Compton. Good morning, coach. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. It's an honor. It's an honor. When I was working down in Logan, West Virginia area, that was when in 2011, it was when Pikeville won the national championship, and you were on that staff. So I got to start this thing opening with just letting everybody know we're talking to a national champion here. Explain that season. Everybody dreams about it. You got to live it. What was it like? What was that team like? What separated that team from all the others that you've had that took them to? Because everybody's had the talented teams.
Yeah, it's really hard to describe, honestly. It's hard to put into words what that experience was. I don't know how much I had to do with that. I was lucky enough to be on staff around and be part of the journey, but certainly had heavier lifters than myself on that staff and on that team. But the whole experience, I don't think, at that time, this program had only experienced one Final Four, and that had been a decade prior. And I don't think that, really anybody expected it to go the way that it went when we went to Kansas City. That was Coach Wells' first team at Pikeville that had qualified for the national tournament. We had a ton of support from the community, a ton of support from campus, the entire region, really. Everyone was excited for us to finally break through and make the tournament. And we went out unseeded. And at the time, they do the seeding a little bit differently now, but at the time we were unseeded. We became the first team to go unseeded and beat 5 seeded opponents to win the national championship. We ran a zone. We ran a 2-3 zone, a 2-2-1 back to a 2-3 zone the entire national tournament, pretty much primarily. And that was something that we had not done at all before that. We just kind of got out there and we saw that you see the talents, you see the athletes, and you start looking around and you're like, I don't know how we match up man to man against some of these guys. So we're just going to have to try to wing it and do what we can do. And our guys bought in and we rode that zone all the way to a national championship. And, just you reach a point, we had several transfers on that team. We had a few guys that had put some sweat equity in for several different years. And you reach a point in the season where they either really come together, the chemistry clicks, or it doesn't. And we finished third in the conference, I think, in the regular season standings. Made it to the conference semifinals and got into the tournament. And we got to Kansas City, and you're kind of riding on adrenaline. We played the very first game, and the first game out there is 9:00 Central Time a.m. So we were the very first game of the national tournament. We were playing the defending national champions, Oklahoma Baptist, who coincidentally was coached by assistant coach Kyle Tolwin. His father was a head coach, and Kyle's a really good friend of mine now, just took the Permian Basin head coaching job. But something we still talk about and joke about, to this day. That was really the start of our relationship in the industry. But we played the defending national champion. We don't know what to expect. We go out and we win. I think that playing that first game, we talk a lot about it then. We talk a lot about it now, just wanting to be there that early, wanting to be part of that, and wanting to be successful in that time slot goes a lot further than talent at that point in time. It's you're waking up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to do pregame. You're got to have a commitment the night before to get the rest that you need, and it's tough. It's a lot different than anything you experience. So we just rode that momentum. I think after the first win, we played then the defending national runner-up the second game out of California, Azusa Pacific, and we won that game somehow. We there we go again. We've shocked everybody. Nobody thought we were be in that position, and I think with each win, our guys really started to believe in one another, started to believe in the messaging Coach Wells had. And really, it becomes reality. You think about, everyone starts out wanting to win a national championship or win a conference championship, and you look up and you're legitimately at that point, 3 wins away from doing it. It's not a total abnormality to think, all we got to do is win 3 games. Now at the beginning of the season, you're thinking, we've got to win, we're going to have to win 30 plus games. We're going to have to win the conference. We're going to have to, it's a little overwhelming when you think about what goes into that, but we were 3 wins away at that point. So I think with every win and every inch we got closer, our group just became closer and closer to one another, really bought in, and egos, agendas were dropped, and it really became about what does everyone need to do to contribute to winning and give us the best opportunity to reach our goal. And once you get that close to that opportunity, it's much easier to coach a group like that, much easier for those guys to buy into just finding a way to impact the win.
Yeah, they're like, hell, we've made it this far,
Sure, absolutely. It's, nobody, they really buy into the concept of nobody's gonna remember, how many points you scored. Nobody really remembers how those games happened and who led us in some of those games, but they remember we won those games, and that group is legendary on campus. They cemented their legacy. We've been able to bring them back and put them into the Athletic Hall of Fame here, and it's still a group that we talk about to this day. And I was, as a student assistant on that staff, I was in class with all those guys. Those were my friends. So those are some of the guys that I've remained closest to over the years, and just an experience that is really, really tough to really truly put into words how meaningful it was for our program and our community.
Well, Kelly Wells was the head coach of that team, who has now since become the athletic director down at Pikeville, home of the Black Bears. And they are, and this is, so he was there for 14 years as the head coach. He had a little bit of an adjustment, went from a Hawaii school and then came to Pikeville, Kentucky.
He's from Moorhead, Kentucky originally. Out of high school, he went to Tulsa for a year. J.D. Barnett was an assistant on that staff at Tulsa, ended up transferring back, finishing his career at Moorhead State University, where he grew up, where his father had started the women's program and is still the all-time winningest women's head coach in program history. But, got into high school coaching right after college and was lucky enough then to, within a year or two, transition over to Mason County High School, where he won a state championship at Mason County. He had Chris Lofton, played at Tennessee, was Mr. Basketball. I think Chris was Mr. Basketball, but anyway, played at Tennessee, SEC's all-time three-point leader. Had a young Darius Miller on that team. Trevor said he was very young. They ended up being a major contributor on our national championship team here. Had a ton of talent at Mason County and did a really good job coaching them. Won a state championship, went to the finals another year, and kind of rode that wave to a coaching position at Hawaii Pacific, where J.D. Barnett, who had coached him at Tulsa, was the athletic director and head coach. So he transitioned into being J.D.'s assistant initially. After a year there, they hired him as the head coach and athletics director. And we talk a lot about that transition that he made coming back to Kentucky, and how in a lot of our eyes, he had made it. Like, he was in Hawaii, he was coaching basketball in Hawaii, but for a Kentucky boy, that was a big adjustment. He had a wife and a very young daughter, and just was a long way from home, long way from home. And the opportunity to come back to Pikeville got him closer to his family and to more familiar territory. And there are some logistical issues that, he talks to us about a little bit about coaching in Hawaii, just the travel and the recruitment. You think it's easy to get people, but it's also very expensive. And I think it needs to be huge, but I think a lot of times it's not huge. And I think that's where the disconnect comes into play a little bit. So getting back to the mainland, getting back to somewhere he was comfortable in Kentucky was really important to him. And he took off and did a great job with it.
Well, I guess where I was going with that is he was there for a lot of years after that transition back. So how has that benefited you as a coach, being in a stable system that was kind of like a well-oiled machine? It was just a turnkey operation. Because obviously you respect the guy. He held the job there that long, and he obviously chose you off that staff. So what did that feel like when you were Tab to be his successor? And also, what was it like learning under such a stable system, and how has that benefited you now and going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have. I owe everything professionally to Coach. He took a chance on me as a student assistant. Just somebody walked into his office and said, "Hey, I want to help. I want to be part of it, and I think this may be what I want to do." And I've never done it. I have no background in it. I have no reason for you to think that I can be of any help. But I'm free and I want to do it. And he took a chance. I started as a manager and ran the clock and put the towels on the goals and swept the floor and did the laundry, just whatever I could do, and made sure that I hung around the office as much as possible. At that time, we've been around a lot of really, really good assistant coaches here during his tenure as head coach as well. And at that time, Matt Hurt, who is the director of operations at Coastal Carolina and has been for a decade now, was here. Brian Cloman, who is now at the College of Charleston as an assistant, was at Winthrop and has been with Pat Kelsey the last several years. I came in at the end of Richie Riley's tenure as an assistant coach here, so I got to know Richie a little bit, who followed Kelly from Hawaii to here. Have worked with, Brett Rector was the associate head coach on our national championship team, who played at Ravenswood, has been an assistant at Charleston, and is now the head coach at Salem University. So
yep, just took that job.
Just a handful of those guys that I was able to spend time with and have a huge impact. But working for Coach was amazing. That was, that's kind of what makes my path unique. A lot of people move around a lot in this profession, and they have to do that to move up the ladder, and that's kind of looked at as the norm. And I think, a lot of times it's looked at as a negative if you aren't around different coaches and different philosophies and different cultures. And, I never really looked at it that way. I looked at it as if I was, kind of lucky enough to land in the pinnacle of my basketball world here. It's close. I grew up in Southwest Virginia, in Grundy, Virginia, which is about an hour away. Spent a lot of time here in Eastern Kentucky growing up. My family's all within a couple of hours of Pikeville. So this was the pinnacle for me. This was the best basketball in the closest area to my home. And, there was really no reason for me to look elsewhere. There was really no reason for me to go out. I loved working for Coach. I loved the people we worked with. This is my alma mater. Every time it came time for me, to need a little bit of a financial boost or a promotion and title, that kind of thing, the timing just worked out to where I was able to gain that here. And, I again, when you love coming into work, you love who you work for, you love where you work at, there's no
it's
need
not
to
work.
move. There's no need to move to just move, it was a little unique the way that I've been able to rise up the coaching ranks, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And again, I think the things I was asked in a head coaching interview a few years ago about that very thing. What do I feel like it's a negative that I've only been at Pikeville and not been around other coaches and been around other people? And the answer to that question for me was, I talked about the assistant coaches I was able to work under and work alongside, and where they went and the success that they've had. And we're the ones that are in the office, throwing ideas back and forth and talking about what we're going to do when we get our program and what we like and what we don't like and those kinds of things. So we've had a ton of coaching turnover just because of our success, and they've had other opportunities. So I've had the experience of being around a ton of great, brilliant coaches, but just also been fortunate enough to work for one head coach in one place while doing it.
Well, you see here, Mr. Kelly, I it's a blessing that I've only been at Pikeville my entire life, because I only know the Pikeville way. I
Sure.
bleed Pikeville. I am Pikeville.
And
I could have got it. I could have got it.
As cheesy as that pitch might be, to think that didn't have a major role in me being able to be selected as the successor to him, it's crazy to think that didn't play a role, a major role. The continuity of that and just the being able to handle the nuts and bolts and the ins and outs of things and knowing processes and procedures and those sorts of things. Nobody had to teach me those things. Those are things that I've been doing for a long time for my job. So
it's only cheesy, and people say things are cheesy because really they're true, and it annoys them.
Sure. And that's there was what we were doing worked. I've done my best to try to to put my own fingerprints on the program in different areas and different ways and style of play and those kinds of things. But, when you really boil it down to just the relationship side of things and the way things need to work on campus and procedural type things, the way we did things worked. And there's really no reason to change a lot of those things because, we had worked really hard to master those processes in our situation here for a very long time. So, some continuity and some continuation has certainly been in my favor during difficult times. Obviously, since I took the job, we've not been in a normal situation really. So just having some continuity really helped.
Yeah. Well, and you said, difficult situations, people that don't know where Pikeville is located at. It's in the heart of coal country, as I said, the start of this thing here. And my understanding is you come from a whole coal background, which a lot of people in that area don't get a chance to see much of life outside of the old dark shafts that they crawl into, whether it be in a roof bolter, a scraper, whatever the job title may be. With your background in it, it's a rough, tough life. There's not a lot of extra money to go around. So, in most situations, I can't speak for all of them. But, you come from coal country, and that's not a easy way to come up. It makes you tough. It's definitely not a foofy, fluffy lifestyle. How has that shaped you? And you're the first one in your family to make a living off not make coal mining. And what does that mean to your family? What does it mean to the community? Describe like your upbringing and how all that works.
Sure. Yeah. Where I grew up in Grundy, Virginia, and Pikeville really are very similar, very, very similar in terms of just there's a high dependency and always has been a high dependency on coal and natural resources and those kinds of things. And it's the definition of blue collar for a lot of those folks. It's certainly not the only means to make things meet, but it's certainly a large percentage of the money in our area and the success in our area. And certainly people my age, our grandfathers, and a lot of our fathers have grown up doing something in the coal industry. Blue collar, you see the hard hat kind of over my head there. That's one thing we talk about is just a blue collar mentality and just a hard hat mentality and just what that means and what that looks like and just how blessed we are to be able to do what we're doing to make a living versus the hard manual labor style that we certainly respect and that so many of our predecessors have had to do to make a living. My father grew up, when I was growing up, he was a mine supply salesman. So he sold mainly to strip mines. He never really had to go in the mines, but my one grandfather on my mother's side grew up a coal miner and worked in the mines until he retired. And my other grandfather was also involved in heavy machinery and mine supply sales and those kinds of things as well. So, the first male and their fathers before them. So, the first male in my immediate family to make a living doing something outside of being dependent on coal and natural resources. And, that industry, unfortunately, in our area for the workforce has been drying up. And Pikeville's been really, really progressive in trying to find new ways and new opportunity for folks to make a good, decent living and be proud about it. The medical industry has really boomed here in our area. The education industry has really boomed here in our area. And, they've tried their best to bring as much commerce and retail and those kinds of things to our area for the folks to be able to stay in our area versus having to go elsewhere to find those higher paying jobs that they were used to having in the mines and on strip mines and those kinds of things. But yeah, this area, it's salt of the earth people, down to earth people, some of the nicest, hardest working people that you'll ever meet. Really encompasses what our entire area is, what our entire region is. And it's not something that we shy away from, not something that we hide. It's something that we're proud about. And the guys that we bring in that aren't from our area, that aren't familiar with this region, we do our best to educate them on what this region's about and kind of what that blue collar mentality looks like and, bring some of that experience to their experience while they're here in Pikeville.
Absolutely. And Pikeville is a beautiful town. It's kind of like a big old city. You just drive around the mountains and it's like, oh, There it is. And it is, and it's been a few years since I've been down there. So it sounds like the medical field has really grown since then. And it was a big town when I was back there. So students are probably pleasantly surprised when they come on these campus visits and they come like, wow, this is actually a college town.
Absolutely.
So good vibe there. The second year of you being the head coach, last year you went even Steven across the board, 10-10 in conference, 12-12 overall, and a very weird and trying first year as coach. Just when you thought I was just inheriting a nice, normal turnkey job, COVID. So now this year, you're obviously going to be returning a lot of players back with the NAI rules. No seniors had to graduate unless they wanted to. They're granted the extra year of eligibility. Are you in a position where your team's going to benefit from that rule, or are you still going to be a younger team that's going to be going against some much older teams this year? Explain us to your team.
Yeah, I don't know. We had two seniors last year. One was Jordan Perry, who's a 1,500 point scorer for us, who has been an unbelievable player in our program. He'd already graduated from undergrad. He was finishing in the spring with a master's degree. He's not coming back. He's going to pursue a professional opportunity in basketball, and hopefully to be announced relatively soon. But
breaking news.
He had already received 2 degrees. I think he was ready to move on and make a living doing it. And we had another player that finished up, graduated last year, and had some other professional opportunities arise. That after a long talk, we went late into the summer talking about it. I just think it was really hard for him to give up the professional opportunities that he had arise for him. So I think, he decided to do that. So we returned 5 guys. We brought in 6 new guys. And, going back to when I got the job, the press conference was, I think, February 26, 2020. So, within a couple of weeks, the world had shut down. You get announced, and then all of a sudden we're in quarantine. We don't know what it's going to look like. We're having to finish the semester virtually. You just know, but there's so much uncertainty that already existed with me replacing Coach Wells, but now we add in all this other stuff. So we had to bring in 12 new players, 10 transfers in our first year. So we had a virtually a brand new roster other than Jordan Perry and Corbin Spencer, who ended up being our leading scorer last year. And in some respects, I think that helped our situation some, just because it was such a heavy transition. Those guys really didn't know anything but me as the head coach. There wasn't a whole lot of fight back and forth from the way that we used to do things to the way we're doing things now, and uncertainty in that realm. So, but it did impact us in having to break in 12 new players, mainly all of them being impact kind of guys, with limited time, limited opportunity, with quarantines and procedures and those sorts of things. So, I think we went back and from the start of when our official practice was supposed to start to when we went home for Christmas break last fall, I think we had either missed or had small groups of 3 or less, almost 40 days. We played together 5 times before our official practice, and we had an entirely new roster. So it took us a while to figure things out. I was having to figure some things out. Staff was having to figure some things out. So it was a tough transition. This year, we do return 5 key players back. We brought in a great class that we feel comfortable with. We've actually just started working with those guys, trying to get ahead a little bit. So I really like where we're at. I hope this year presents us a little more opportunity for some normalcy. Up to this point, I think it's been a little bit of a mixed bag in that regard. Moving forward, will be interesting to see how things play out with games and practices and protocols and those sorts of things. But it was tough. It was a wild transition, but we learned a lot. We accomplished a lot. We 12-12. We won 5 games against teams that went to the NAIA tournament. We won 4 games that were against top 25 teams. Graduated every eligible player that was eligible to graduate in our program. Had the highest team male GPA on campus. So we found a way to be successful in a lot of areas and do a lot of good things. We've got to try to translate and win some more ball games.
And the progression showed. You lost to Georgetown in the final round of the second round of the MSC tournament by 2, but both lost. You went 0-3 against them, but the first 2 games were double-digit losses to both. So, and it was like worse, better, and then you lost by 2 in what looked to be a heartbreaker, and your defense really seemed to step it up 76-74, where I think first game they scored a 90+. So,
Sure.
yeah, it shows right there that you guys were making progress.
Defensive end was not our friend last year. We found a way to do some really good things on the offensive end, but
come on, coach.
I'm not sure.
Slap.
I'm not sure we could have found any way to
Slap, man.
do worse. That honestly, I don't think we could have been much worse defensively. So that's been a huge emphasis of ours in recruiting and this preseason is just trying to find a way to at least get in the way. You know, I don't know how good we'll be on defense, but we need to get in the way more and at least make it a little more difficult than what it was last year.
No, that's good stuff there. I mean, it wasn't good for defense, but, you know, it's good that you were able to at least laugh about it.
Sure, absolutely. It is what it is. And you know, again, just with so many new guys, we were a little undersized compared to what we would like to be and what we really need to be in our league. So we tried to play to our strengths, and that was try to play fast, try to swing it to the offensive side of the floor, and again, just try to be as successful and disrupting defensively as we potentially could, and try to make teams score with us. And then we were able to score a lot. We were able to get into a lot of shootouts, but as you know, the later you get into the season, you've got to be able to sit down and defend in the half court. And I think we made strides. We got better at that, but we certainly have plenty of room to grow on that end of the floor.
Yeah, you were just trying to create as many extra possessions as possible. That's a strategy for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Well, we're going to do some rapid fire questions here, a little bit off topic to wrap this thing up here. You ready?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Who wins the Super Bowl?
I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady. Fantasy football, everything. I've been on the Brady train for a long time in terms of his production and ability to impact winning and championship wins. And he is, we just had a fantasy draft with some friends earlier this week, and I told him, this is the third year of the league. I've made the finals the last 2 years, won it last year. Tom Brady's been my quarterback every year. I got him again. I'm gonna let him prove to me that he can't lead me to the promised land before I get rid of him. So I think I gotta go with that strategy in real life as well. I'm a Titans fan. I love the Titans. I love what they've done, but it's hard to bet against Tom Brady right now.
Super Bowl right here.
I can see where you'd lean probably.
Yeah. Definitely think you're a bandwagon drummer on the Brady comment, but that's cool.
It's hard to go. It's hard to go away from it.
Favorite style of pizza?
Favorite style of pizza, no question, Chicago deep dish. Got to eat it like a meal, fork and knife. Giordano's, Lou Malnati's. Got to have Chicago deep dish. I love pizza. Pizza is my thing.
All right. Do you love a good block or a good charge?
Probably a charge. I think I would prefer a charge over a block just because I think the charge creates a dead ball situation, which I think can be a little more debilitating to their momentum, the other team's momentum. I think it gives us a chance to cheer a little more, gives everybody a chance to hear it a little more, and a little bit more time to think about what just happened. Sure, there's always theatrics involved in it. I think the charge. I think it can be a little more debilitating to the opponent than a block. We're teaching next play mentality. We're teaching, get to the next play regardless of what happens. And when it's a dead ball after a big time charge, everybody's cheering, everybody's into it. Gives us possession back. I think it's impossible to not be impacted somehow by that.
Favorite facility you get to play at that's not home, or that you've ever been at?
Well, I've been lucky enough to be on staff when we played the University of Kentucky twice at Rupp Arena. That's unbelievably special. It's been a packed house. Playing against Kentucky, the last time we got to play was the year they went to the Final Four, lost one game. They had Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Tyler Ulis, Trey Lyles, Willie Cauley-Stein. They had the platoon. So it was that was an experience, an unbelievable experience. We've played, I've been able to coach in games at Tennessee, at the University of Louisville. The Yum Center is amazing. We're playing a Division I exhibition game this year. It's not been announced yet. I don't think I can announce it. I'm going to wait until they announce it.
Oh no, you can't do that.
But we do have.
Why would you do that?
We do have an exhibition game this year that will be exciting for our regional fan base. It will be exciting for. I do think it will be exciting for you. You can think about that. I think it is in your wheelhouse a little bit with some of your background, but we're excited to get it done. I hope it's announced soon, so that'll be added to the list. Mississippi State playing in the Hump down there was an unbelievable experience. That they had Arnett Moultrie, D. Boss, Renardo Sidney. They had some amazing players when we got to play them down there. Rodney Hood was on that team at Mississippi State when we played them. So we've had some amazing experiences, but Rupp Arena is tough to top.
Does the head coach of the head team have over 500 wins?
No.
Okay, never mind. No. You said wheelhouse. I got excited. I thought maybe it's the Huggy Bear.
It'll be exciting. It'll be an exciting opportunity for our area and our region for sure.
Well, before that day comes, we're gonna have to get another meeting set up. We're gonna have to break that one down.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Do a film session. All right. And this one's going to get you in a lot of fire because I'm going to throw you out to the wolves on this one. Better high school basketball, Indiana or Kentucky?
I think
told you.
I think I've not got to live in the Indiana madness and hysteria. I've been able to experience the Kentucky one firsthand. I've been able to attend the Sweet 16, the regional tournaments here. It's so much different than what it was when I grew up in Southwest Virginia. Our regions and our districts were all classified, and you didn't necessarily play people in your area, and we were traveling 2 hours to Hillsville to a district game and playing Martinsville and some of those teams in region play, teams that we never got to see any other time prior to that. But in Kentucky, the one class system, the geographic nature to their regional tournaments, it means so much to the communities in the area. If you're able to win that region tournament and go represent your region at Rupp Arena, it means a lot. You have bragging rights in your area. I mean, it's all directly related to where you live. So there's so much put on that. It's hard to top Kentucky with their one class, with their small school versus large school. Elijah Justice, the head coach at Pikeville High School, was able to coach him here after he transferred back from Louisville. Won a state championship at Shelby Valley High School as a player. They have an all-A state championship that's kind of an unsanctioned kind of thing that happens during the year for the small schools. And then they have the bigger Sweet 16. And Shelby Valley won both of those. They were the small school state champion. They were the overall state champion. Just seeing what that can do to a community, a small community, and watching them knock off, some of the traditional powers in Kentucky that have, 1,500, 2,000 kids in their school. It's special, very special. So I would say Kentucky because of the system and the way that they have it, and really just it means a lot to both. But I know what it means to the kids in Kentucky to make it out of the region and to make it to Sweet 16 at Rupp Arena.
I only asked Kentucky or Indiana because you're all playing second to Ohio. So yeah. It was just
well, they actually have a Kentucky-Ohio game that happens every year at Thomas More. It's kind of a spin-off of the Kentucky-Indiana All-Star Series that Kentucky and Indiana have always played. And the Kentucky-Ohio game is a really special game. It's been great. They've got high-level talent there every single year. Right. Some of the best kids in both areas, especially the Cincinnati-Dayton area, always attend. It's a really good game that they've got going and been a great addition for Kentucky seniors to be able to go play in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the coolest thing about the high school basketball is when you start out in sectional, like here in Ohio, you have the small crowd, you have your loyals, you make it to districts, crowd starts to get a little bigger. You get to regionals, crowd starts to get real big. Then you get to state, and then like the whole community, like last person turned the lights off in the town, at least in the areas that I've always lived in. And that's what basketball is all about. And it seems like that has carried over to Pikeville up there with you, Coach, and we're real excited for you this year. I am personally thankful for you taking the time out of your busy day. I know you got to go whip some boys into shape over on the gym floor after this. Tell them to get on the line, start running and sprinting. So we wish you the best of luck, and I'm looking forward with anticipation to see who this exhibition game coming up here for. I know it's a big payday for the program, though, in all seriousness, so congratulations on that if it goes through. But ladies and gentlemen, 2nd year head coach, 13th year total at Pikeville, Tigh Compton. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
All right.